Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session on how to write a literature review step by step. I am Dr. Ngu War Hlaing. Here I want to guide you for our final year students through this critical part of your research journey. So this literature review is a cornerstone of your project. So today we will break down the process into manageable steps by step, from understanding what a literature review is to writing and refining it. So let's get started with the basics. So what is a literature review? Let's begin by refining a literature review. Okay, a literature review is a systematic analysis and summary of the published academic writings directly relating to your topic of research. It's not just about listing what others have done. It is about critically analyzing those works to provide context for your study. For example, if your project is about improving network security in IoT devices, your literature review would summarize key studies on IoT security, highlighting their findings and limitations. The goal is to give your reader background information, explain why your research matters, and show how your work fits into the existing body of knowledge. So that's why it should provide the reader with background information on your topics and also explain the significance of your research, how your research relates to the rest of the academic publications on the topic. So it is like building a map of the research landscape with your projects as the next destination. So to expand on that, a literature review is a critical summary of existing research, not just a list of the summary. Okay, it is an analysis. Okay, where you identify the connections, contradictions, and gaps in the literature. For instance, if one study claims that a particular encryption method for IoT device is highly effective, but another study finds it vulnerable to specific attacks, your review would highlight this contradiction. You would also look for the gaps. Maybe no one has explored how that encryption method performs in outdoor environments, which could be a focus for your project. By doing this, you show that you are not just repeating the past work, but building on it in a meaningful way. So, why does literature review matters? Okay, first, it builds the foundation for your research by showing you understand the field. It proves you have done your homework and know the key players and ideas. Second is it helps identify gaps in knowledge, which is critical for defining your research problem. For example, if you find that most studies on IoT security focus on indoor settings, you might decide to investigate outdoor scenarios, filling that gap. Finally, it helps you refine your problem statement by grounding it in what is already known. Well-crafted literature reviews make sure that your project is not a shot in the dark. It is a targeted. Okay, so it is a targeted contributions to the field. So there are different types of literatures. Okay, different types of literature reviews, and the type you choose depends on your project needs. It can be narrative or traditional review, okay, or can be systematic or scoping and meta-analysis. So a narrative of traditional reviews provides a a broad overview of the topic. Okay, we often use to give context, like summarizing trends in IoT security over the past decades. So a systematic review is more structured, following a strict methodology to answer a specific question, such as what are the most effective encryption methods for IoT? Okay, so something like that. For scoping review, is like map out the extent of research on a topic, useful for emerging fields where you want to see what is being studied. And final one is meta-analysis, okay? So which we will only mention briefly, statistically combines the result from the multiple studies to draw broader conclusions, like calculating the average effectiveness of a security protocol across studies. Okay, so for most of your projects, a narrative or systematic review will be okay. Okay, we will need to apply is narrated or systematic. Now, let's dive into the steps of writing a literature review. So step one is to define your topic and scope. Okay, to define your research topic and scope. So this may narrowing down your research area and setting boundaries for what you will cover. Okay, for example, if your project is on IoT security, you might focus on network coding scheme for IoT in outdoor environments. Your scope could exclude indoor settings or older technologies, keeping your review manageable. So a clear topic helps you stay focused when searching for the sources, and define scopes ensures you don't get overwhelmed by irrelevant studies. So think of it as a setting the borders of your research map. You need to know where to explore and where to stop. So step two is developing a research strategy. So this involves deciding where and how to look for the relevant literature. So you will want to use academic database and tools to find the credible sources. We will talk more about specific resources in a later slide, but the key is to use the targeted keywords. For example, session for network coding IoT outdoor environments on Google Scholar might lead you to a recent article like the one we will see later. So a good strategy also include setting criteria and focus on recent study, peer review articles, and those directly related to your topic. So that is about being systematic, so you don't miss important work or waste time on irrelevant materials. Once you have found the potential sources, right? So step three is to select and evaluate them. So stick to the high quality, credible sources like peer review articles, recent conference papers, and journal articles. For example, a journal article from the Journal of Computer Networks, Architecture, and High Performance on Network Coding schemes like would be a strong choice for an IoT project. So evaluate the quality by checking the study's methodology. So the reputation of the journal and how recent it is, like older studies might not reflect current technology. So these steps ensures your review is built on a solid foundation of the reliable research, not outdated or questionable. Step four is to organize the literature you have collected. So you can group studies by theme, method, chronology, or theoretical approach. For instance, if you are reviewing IoT security, you might organize by things like encryption methods or network coding schemes and cooperative communication system alternatively. So you could organize chronologically to show how IoT security has uh, evolved over time. Tools like you can use Mendeley, Zotero, and Note Okay, they can help you manage your references and then track citations and keep your notes organized. So these steps is important because it helps you see patterns and structures your review logically, making it easier to write. Step 5 is to analyze and synthesize the literature. So this is where you go beyond summarizing. You compare the studies, identify the trends, gaps, and controversies, and connect them to your research problems. For example, if one study on IoT network coding finds that amplify and forward scan work well in outdoor environment, but another disagrees. So citing signal interference issue, you highlight this disagreement, you might also notice a gap, or perhaps no study addresses how these schemes perform in extreme weather conditions, which your project could explore. So synthesis means weaving these findings into a narrative that supports your research, showing how your work builds on or challenges existing the knowledge. Now, step 6 is writing the review. So a good structure includes an introduction, main body, and conclusions. So in the introduction, you have to define the scope and objectives of your review. Say, so this review examine the networks coding scheme for IoT in outdoor environments to identify gaps in current research. Okay, and then the main body can be organized by things or trends like discussing encryptions, then coding schemes, and finally cooperative system. So in the conclusion, summarize the gaps and then implications and position your research. For example, like you can say like this: why current studies focus on studies environments, my project will explore dynamic outdoor settings. Use linking phrases to make your writing flow, such as unlike previous study, which focus on indoor settings, or this suggests that further research is needed in, or this structures ensures your review is clear and purposeful. As you write, you need to pay attention to citation and writing practices. So you need to use a consistent citations style like IEEE or APA, depending on your project guidelines. For example, in IEEE style, you would number your references in the order they appear like 1, 2, and list them at the end. Paraphrase carefully to avoid the uh, plagiarism. Don't copy the sentences directly. Instead, rewrite ideas in your own words and cite the source. So you can use the tools like Zotero and Mendeley and Grammarly. Okay, they can help manage citation, and also Grammarly can improve your writing clarity. So the proper citation and this paraphrasing not only maintain the academic integrity, but also make your review more professional and credible. Let's talk about common mistakes to avoid. First, don't just summarize studies without analysis. So your review should criticize and connect the ideas, not just list what others said. Second, avoid using outdated or weak sources. A study from 1995 on IoT security might be irrelevant today unless it is a foundational work. Third, watch out for the plagiarism. Okay, always cite your sources. Okay, even when paraphrasing. Finally, ensure your review has a clear structures and flow, and don't jump between unrelated topics without transitions. Avoiding these mistakes will make your literature review more robust and impactful for your project. Next, let's discuss how to define sources. Okay, academic database and tools are your best friend here. Okay, we will look a few options in the next slide. But one great starting point is uh, Google Scholar. Okay, it allows you to search for articles. Okay, even recommended the paper. For example, uh, a recent search for network coding scheme IoT outdoor might bring up a paper like network coding schemes and cooperative communication system amplify and forward the outdoor environment by something like that. So this kind of source is recent, relevant, and peer review, perfect for your review. So here is an example of what you might find on Google Scholar. So this article, network coding scheme, here you can see this was published in the Journal of Computer Networks. Okay, so that's how you can search in Google Scholar. Beyond Google Scholar, here are more tools and resources to help you. Database like Activate, Explore, Scopus, Science Direct are excellent for finding the peer review articles in technical fields. So for the final step, okay, here you need to start early and read widely. Okay, don't wait until the last minutes to become your review organized. Okay, and whether it in tool like Mendeley or a simple document. Okay, so you can easily find information when writing and discuss your findings with your supervisor so they can provide the valuable feedback on whether you are on the right track. Okay, finally, don't aim for quantity, aim for relevance and depth. Okay, it's better to deep analyze, okay, than high quality studies than to superficially mention 50. So this habit will ensure your literature review is very effective. So that brings us the end of today's session. Thank you for your attention. I hope this guide has given you a clear roadmap for writing your literature review. So remember, this is a critical part of your final year project. So take your time, be systematic, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need guidance. If you have any questions, feel free to ask or email me later. Best of luck with your projects, and I look forward to seeing your progress. Bye-bye.